To zanim jeszcze rozpoczniemy dyskusję, chciałem zaprosić najpierw Petera Gondę z Instytutu Konserwatywnego ze Słowacji. Peter, come up, please, to the stage. Peter opowie w kilku słowach o inicjatywach, które w ramach Instytutu swojego prowadzą, a potem podobnie Michael Jaeger z Bawarii, z niemieckiego Stowarzyszenia Podatników. Najpierw Peter, first you, Peter, Michael, you second in line. Both, every mic is working, so. You can sit, stand, up to you.
They're friends of liberty and fiscal and other responsibilities. I wish you pleasant afternoon. Thank you very much, Sebastian, for kind invitation and for the possibilities to discuss within this panel. It's very, very, very important for me. Also, this topic is very, very important and very timely in current situation. Today, as you know, we live in the best times, historical best times. However, at the same time, we live beyond our means and at the expense of future. And therefore, the politicians and central bankers are financially sustaining the illusion of such life. And politicians are also feeding the people illusions of gifts delivered from somebody else's money. As Tomasz Wróblewski mentioned, while the first lesson of economics is the scarcity, the first lesson of politics is the disregard the first lesson of economics. It's very important to mention. And it's most visible manifested in the growing public debt. An example of fast-growing public debt in Slovakia, I would like to mention you as memento for you. Because during a decade in Slovakia, public debt increased in absolute terms by 93%, 25 billion euros. This is a very huge amount, and moreover, the huge public finance deficit for the current year was implemented by our government. What is the highest as a percentage in GDP in the EU, and therefore Slovakia is in critical situation relating to public finance, and it's possible the bankrupt during 10 years, and therefore I would like mention several figures relating to this. The excessive government expansions is, from my point, is a crucial problem. Because actually the greatest problem in the economy, from my point of view, is growing government scope and the impact on the economy. And in public finance is government expenditure increase. This is two crucial problems in the current economy. And excessive government expansion takes place in Slovakia. This year, the general government expenditure will increase in Slovakia by 28 billion euros in comparison with 2012. The decade, 28 billion 10 years is very huge increase during this time. And I would like to say that please note that more realistic burden of the redistributed public expenditure is not comparison to GDP, because public expenditure are included in GDP, and therefore more realistic is compared to value added of private companies, of private institutions. And if we compare public expenditure to private, to value added of private enterprises, in Slovakia is 75 or almost 90%. This is big difference that only 50% is a usual average in EU. And therefore, I would like to also show this. I have a presentation. If somebody wants, I can send more figures. And which are the main causes of the situation? I would like to mention during this presentation only 3 causes. Maybe during discussion we can discuss about it more. First, absent and insufficient limits of public expenditure and public finance. Limits and rules. Absent, insufficient. Secondly, government consumption. And thirdly, deformed structure of public expenditure. I mean mainly transfers to people with a middle and higher income, social transfers and other transfers to middle and higher income. It's a problem not only in Slovakia, and also subsidies to economy is also other problem. And expenditure growth is fueled significantly by public consumption, and I would like to say that in Slovakia, consumption of government is 44% of total expenditure. More than 40% is consumption, is very huge portion, and its increase caused by very huge increasing number of employees, of course, but also is growth of average wage in public sector. Paradoxically, in Slovakia is widening the gap between the average wage in public sector and private sector. While in 2012, the average monthly salary was the same in public sector and in private sector, but today in public sector is higher by 200 euros than in private sector, whose taxes are funding the public sector. It's absolutely paradox at the moment. And systematic cause of public expenditure is also legislation in social areas. I mean, mainly, this is not problem Slovakia, but maybe Poland and other countries in EU. Universal, regular, valorized claims of welfare state, benefits without objective needs and sufficient limits, also relatively generous without financial coverage, which support the people's entitlement mentality. It's a crucial problem from my point of view, because it's supporting entitlement mentality in our current society. And also, as I indicate, the structure, different structure is caused by subsidies, but also EU funds and EU policies. This is expenditure traps, for example, as a common agricultural policy. And also, ever-growing public expenditure result from the existence of public enterprises. This is maybe the very similar situation also in Poland. And I would like to shift to another problem relating to revenues. Because the problem is the public expenditure is not financially covered by public revenues, despite of a very excessive total tax burden. For example, in Slovakia, in previous year, was tax incomes versus GDP only 35%, but this is not total tax burden. overall burden in form of mandatory payments is substantially higher according to our methodology. Our methodology calculation, the burden of all administrative enforced payments, obligate payments, are 63% from labor cost. And also, Warsaw Enterprise Institute calculated according to our methodology for Poland, and it is higher because it is 65%. It's a very huge portion mandatory burden from labor cost. I will find it the calculation could become international because it shows complex burden also which is interconnected with government scope and interventions. And also provide insight people about price of public sector. It is different that only we can compare revenues, tax revenues to GDP, or is not reality relating to tax burden we must pay to all institutions according to administrative law. What we must pay is a big difference. And now, and I would like to say that the big government restrict and reduce people's prosperity and freedom, and therefore I think we must stop and reduce the scope and interventionist influence of state and other administrative entities. It is crucial task for us stop and reduce it. And therefore we can discuss during discussion more, but I would like to indicate only several points. First is we need checks. We need constitutional or other checks of political powers for centralized, for redistribution, for taxes, for regulations, and so on. Also, we need deal with causes public finance problems by elimination distortions, as I mentioned, on expenditure and asset size. For example, by decrease of consumption, decrease of scope, and increased targeting social transfers to poor people, to only poor people, and also for elimination subsidies to business and for privatization. Still, in Poland, in Slovakia, we need another privatization. And what is also very important from long-term point of view, we need expenditure reforms, pension, healthcare, and other aim at reducing people's reliance on money from others through taxes and transferring responsibility for their living conditions from government to them. It was very, very important. This means reduce the rate of entitlement, this unsustainable welfare state. And if some politicians or technocrats propose increasing taxes, this is not solution. Absolutely don't consider as consolidation. And finally, I would like to say the key assumption of the redirection is for people be aware the true size, impact, and consequences. It's very important. As Milton Friedman say, that the best protection of freedom is public response against excessive taxation and excessive government side. And I'm convinced that our calculations relating to the tax burden, then your book and this conference will contribute to this. Thank you very much.
Yes, there is the presentation, and somewhere there is the remote control.
Okay, so thank you very much. Nothing to add. Thank you. I'm really, Okay, sorry. I'm really happy to be here. Let's say tax fighters for freedom, entrepreneurial freedom. If you want to distribute money, first you have to earn it. And the state is mostly thinking the wrong direction. I say, have a master plan how to distribute, but not to make the cake bigger. They want more and more revenues, and that's why we have really to stand close. And I think Warsaw Enterprise Institute, it's a right thing, what you do now with this black book and your work. Very brilliant work, and maybe some remarks on our association, what we do, where we come from. The Taxpayers movement itself, I come from Bavaria, and I'm a member of the board of the Bavarian and German Association. But today I'm here as the president of the European Association. It was founded in 1969. We have 29 members. We represent more than 1 million people, entrepreneurs, European-wide. But we are not limited to the size of European Union. So also Ukraine and other countries can become member. So our definition of Europe is a little bit larger. The aims are very simple, and by the way, also in our statutes, in the Bavarian, German statutes, and the European statutes, to make life very easy. So if you ask me something as an economist, I can tell you sometimes my private ideas, but if it comes to public spending, revenues, it's a clear message. So we fight for sure for lower taxation, less tax bureaucracy, more individual freedom, and what is marked red, because we talk today about waste and the use of public finance. So the money which is wasted it's really the wrongest approach, misuse of public funds. So for sure we need what you mentioned already, a lean, efficient public sector, like in an enterprise. We do not expect that everything's going wrong and right on the public budget, but for sure, long-term and short-term, we have to monitor it, and we need sustainability. We talk lots now for how to fight climate change, sustainability, and we need also financial sustainability. So if you have an increase of indebtedness, what is left to our children and grandchildren? So we have also a responsibility of a good use of public money. So I think also the quality, and that's why it's right time to publish such a book. People now monitor it much more, how the money is used. And I think that's also important for us to have a better impact on politics, and we need efficiency of public spending. Jean-Claude Juncker once said, every euro spent of the European Union must have an impact more than €1. Otherwise, you don't have to invest. And you need an output of spending, not consumption. So in Germany, where I come from, we spend lots now with our coalition. Our politicians distribute money, but not for future investment, where we have more growth. It's only consumption. That's really wrong. And so why we have to monitor it? There's always, if you have public spending, it's easier to spend other people's money. It's much easier than to spend your own money, what you have to earn. So you have always a latent danger of waste of public funds. You have always a latent danger of fraud, misuse, and inefficiency. And that's what we fight. And there are different ways. You can have it internal with Court of Auditors, external, or as a non-political group, by media, a non-governmental and non-profit organization as our Taxpayers movement. And for sure you can have some good approach in your constitution to balance budget. We succeeded in Bavaria, a ban of indebtedness, 2013. So no new debts. Now with COVID, we were around 25 billion indebtedness, and then we had 40 billions more only faced to one virus. Now we have 65 billions of indebtedness because this was a special situation. So we have also to limit taxes and public expenditures. That's what you mentioned, according to gross domestic product, a quota. So it's clear if your private and entrepreneur demand is replaced by government demand, in a short term, maybe COVID, or if you have an energy crisis, whatever, it could be helpful. But as a long-time project, it's wrong. The state cannot replace private entrepreneur demand and supply. It's not working. It's not working because we are not living in a totalitarian system. We're living in a market system. So we have to fight, and we, with the Taxpayers movement, we are external control, and that's what we do. And we, as a German association, we publish every year our so-called black book. I brought some copies. I have sent it to you digitally too. Sorry, it's in German, but I think you have already translated one of our publications. If you want it, please take it. It's very nice. Examples, easy to read, but I cannot understand what is going on. So, and we do it once a year. This year is the 51st edition. Last year we made a special newspaper, also 50th anniversary of our black book. And I think it's a good weapon, a good tool, because no mayor, no politician wants to stand in it. It's a public discussion of waste. And so that's really not easy for politicians to explain why they did something wrong. And we do a good research, by the way. We do not publish something. We write to a mayor, we write to a minister, we get noticed by media, by members, or anonymous, and then we write an inquiry, and I'm also journalists, they have to answer to our inquiry. And then sometimes if there's a certain reason of increase of costs, then we close this chapter. But if not, we continue. And then in Germany, we come together, we collect all the cases, and the craziest cases are published. It's about 100 cases every year are published in our so-called black book. It's from small amount to big amount. It could be also bureaucracy. Bureaucracy is also hindering growth. So if you, as an entrepreneur, got not a license, like in Munich, by the way, a restaurant, they didn't get years ago, they were writing and fighting, and they didn't get a license for outside part of the restaurant. And after 6 or 8 months, the department realized that they are not responsible to decide it. What was really funny for them, but was really bad for the entrepreneur, because the whole business, summer business, was done. So nobody was responsible. Nobody has to pay him something. And that's not fair. Or another very nice example, frogs and grass. I have nothing against animal, but city of Munich bought a big area because they wanted to invest. New buildings, new corporates, development of a part of the city. What they didn't use that there are seldom animals like frogs there, and it's not allowed to build there. Nobody would buy such a ground for such a price if it's just nature. And it was a department knowing it, but they did not check it before. So that's clear waste of money. The owner of this green grass square meters was very happy because he got a good compensation, but it was a loss for the city of Munich. And it's stupid because they even didn't check. It's a normal situation. If you want to build, you must know if you're allowed to build as a private person, as an entrepreneur. It's the first step. Also in a contract, it should be mentioned. So we have different chapters. We have a landing page. We, as a Taxpayers Association, we have our own webpage for sure. And we have many clicks. And our server was shut down. And for that reason, we have our own webpage for the Black Book. And it's a very modern and very easy to use webpage. And we have different chapters. Every year we have a certain topic. This year we were discussing public relation and image spending of the government. Hairdresser, styling. So especially the Greens, by the way, spent 100,000 of euro to look nice, to have nice hairs, nice face, nice dress. And it should not be paid by the taxpayers, by the way. Baerbock, okay, I don't know if she needs it, but sorry, or Habeck, but that's not our job to spend millions for this. Normally a woman knows how to style herself, and wants one coaching, but not permanent. So she really is a hairdresser and a stylist with her, and it's paid by the taxpayers. What is not nice, and we published it, and also our Bavarian Prime Minister and others, they do the same. And so I'm belonging to the market side as a private person, so conservative, libertarian. Everything was in the interest of the market, of entrepreneurs and taxpayers. That's my close relation, but I have also to criticize it. So if you do a black book, even if it would be my brother, I have to do it. So you must be neutral. And independent. By the way, we are financed by our members' fees. We are completely independent. We get no single euro. With the German Taxpayers Association, we have 200,000 members financing all the regional work. With the Bavarians, we have 35,000 members paying a small contribution between 60 and 120 euros. So we're completely independent. We have different chapters. So bridges, real estate, constructing. So most of the waste is in this area. Most of the waste. We have now a study, a doctorate in Romania, a colleague. We want to identify also an amount, what is interesting, from which amount, from which increase you can identify increase of costs as a waste. So there's no legal definition until today. We monitor it, and I can show you later some examples. Clear waste, and it's from reread also. If we once published a case, and the project is not finished, we continue to monitor it. So the politicians are not out. We don't let them out. We continue control, what is also important, not to stop. And also we have success stories. Sometimes when we start to criticize, mayors and politicians become afraid and stop projects. That's the biggest success, mostly not published in the black book, but that's the cases I love, those who are not published. So, for instance, Bremerhaven, they have spent for cultural pass for young people 200 euro, prepaid cash card 60 euro, and a credit 180 euros. It's not a big amount, but it's not necessary. It's not necessary. And if you have an indebted city, you should not use this money this way. It's not necessary. So it's a gift paid by the taxpayers. Everybody would love to have it. Or Berlin, that's also our federal president. There's if you are in Berlin, have a look to this Bellevue Palais. It's very nice, and it's renovated. So you could rent something, or you can build something. And we had an increase from 130 million to 205 million euro, only for interims building. It's much too much. Rent any administrative building. It's much cheaper than to do it this way. But that's the way we plan in Germany or in Celle for bicycles. It's a funny, nice thing now. Munich, for instance, is spending 1.6 billion for new roads for bicycles. We have already roads. But those who are, we call it Lastenfahrt, with children in front, big bicycles, they want 1 meter 50, 1 meter 80 roads for bicycles. It's done because the bicycle drivers are voters, and it's paid by all taxpayers, what is stupid. And now the mayor realized we have some really nice roads for bicycles already. I do not want to replace them, only for 5 or 10 or 8 centimeters. It's stupid, it's a loss. I'm high speeding, I'm high speeding. So Munich, that's also, we have a train. We started with 1.8 billion, now we have 7 billions. Increase of costs. Someone should be responsible to it. Or Coburg, I have been there, we started with 59 million, now it's 360 million cost for renovation of the theater. And we know that we will end around 400. So someone should be responsible. And more cases. We have one success at the end, EU prosecutor since 2021. There's a EU prosecutor fighting these cases. You find very nice videos too. And we have a special edition, take it with you. I have sent it also digital, Corona funds. We had a lot of money collected, indebtedness. The reason why? To fight the impact of COVID. But the money is not used for COVID. It's used for different things. So it's not fair. So 800 billion indebtedness and loans, and there's a misuse, and nobody says it. We don't accept it. We published it. I think we should also mention this, and that's what we do also with our European politicians. Someone is hunting license, for instance. Has this something to do with COVID? I don't think so. Huh? I don't think so. And other projects too. Soccer team, female soccer team in Spain. Has this really a relation to COVID? I don't think so. Funny cases, and we should fight these cases. That's why such a black book is really efficient and very good. And we have a European page with the European Taxpayers, the Waste of Nations. Have a look there, go there. It's very interesting, where we collect funny cases European-wide. The Swedish colleagues started this web page. And if you have if you translate a case, send it to them. Or send it to me, I will transfer it, and it will be published on the European webpage, Waste of Nations. And that's it from my side. I just want to show you that we do lots, and it's good that you started. It's a step-by-step work, and I think we can really force politicians to spend money much more efficient, and that's important because we represent all taxpayers and entrepreneurs. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Michael. Peter, can you please, okay, it's all right. No, now you have the paper adjusted to you. Okay, to zapraszam, Tomek, jeśli możesz, and who else? Rui, please join us on stage. No, we can sit here. Let's make this discussion dynamic. We're going to talk about the waste of taxpayers' money in other countries than Poland, because all the Polish wastes are here. So let's talk about the other countries, specifically about Germany, Slovakia, Portugal, and maybe also European Union. We've started with Peter with his presentation. You said that you have around 60% of overall tax burden in Slovakia. This is the tax side of the problem. You also told a lot about the expenditures, like in absolute terms or compared to the GDP. But do you have a problem like we do with the waste of taxpayers' money? Can you give us some examples? Maybe you don't have this problem. Maybe you know how to fight it. If so, please also share this mystery. Okay. You can use this mic.
If I should mention all examples of wasting, we can discuss very long, 2, 3, 4 hours. But I can mention maybe the crucial examples. For example, in social area, because as I indicate in my presentation, this is the key problem. The universal benefits as very main source of wasting. I can show you example in Slovakia. We have universal child benefit, from which only 5% is directed to parents in material need, and other part, this 95% is for people in middle and higher income, and therefore I propose to cancel and keep only for poor. It is a very significant savings, for example. And other example is, of course, the unsustainable pension system in Poland, in Slovakia, in EU. This is a problem not only for today, but from many years into future. And the replacement ratio is too generous from public sector. we compare to net wage because we have net pensions, and this is almost two-thirds, 67% replacement ratio. This is absolutely unsustainable. It's only two examples. I can prolong with oversized highways, corruption in Slovakia is a very huge problem, mainly during previous governments, Mr. Fico, and unfortunately our new government is again with the Prime Minister Mr. Fico, and I'm afraid in future in Slovakia, not only from a financial point of view.
So this is maybe quite an important update for us. What are the plans of the new Slovakian government in terms of public expenditures, in terms of tax system? Did they share already some ideas? What do they want to do?
I don't know, because we have we have not a new government. It's only several days, and we will see. But it should be from left and populist parties, as you know, and the same parties in previous times during economic boom absolutely destroyed the public finances. And now, as I mentioned you, Slovakia is in a critical situation relating to public finance. And we expect, of course, increasing interest and problems with financing for financial investors. And this is a problem for our future. And I'm afraid that the possible, probably new government will not savings and will propose new taxes, higher taxes, and this is a problem for our economic performance and, of course, future revenues. This is not consolidation.
I remember the days when Slovakia was given here as an example of a good tax code because there was a flat rate. There is no more this kind of tax system right now, as well as I understand, right?
This is not the real situation in Slovakia. This is from last time as Ivan Miklos implement. But now we have two rates, and unfortunately our current government, technocratic government, propose also third rate, more progressive taxation, unfortunately, and I'm afraid that the new government used this proposal from technocrats, and they propose third, more progressive taxation, unfortunately.
So we can expect nothing good from them. Okay, let's switch to our other guest, this time the online remote guest from the US, Mr. Pete Sepp, who is in charge of National Taxpayers Union in the USA. He doesn't see us, but we see you. So hello, how can you hear me?
How shall I say this with apologies? Dzień dobry.
Perfect. So Slovakia, that we have already talked about, is a very small country. It would seem that it is easy to manage such a small country. We see that it's not so. But then we have the US with a huge number of different tax jurisdictions for every state, plus the federal taxes. Now that you have this election season, everybody is talking about where should the U.S. go with its public spending. You have this Inflation Reduction Act, a huge legislation that is going to increase spending in some areas. So, can you please shed a light on the main problems that you, as taxpayers of the U.S., are facing these days?
Well, certainly, I could easily go on for several hours about this and all the problems we face. I'll concentrate on the issue of wasteful spending that Michael so well explained in regards to the EU. The United States has many problems in this area, primarily because of the COVID aid that was given in 2020, 2021, but also because of the Inflation Reduction Act you mentioned. And there are many efforts underway to continue to identify wasteful spending at the federal, state, and local levels here in the United States. Actually, we do get help from some politicians in this country who want to take credit for reducing wasteful spending or discovering wasteful spending. Whether they're honest about it or not, we certainly try to take advantage of it. There are two compendiums by two United States senators here, Senator Rand Paul and Senator Lankford of Oklahoma, and they compile, using their own staff members' research and time, a number of records that are available from the federal budget and our executive branch that outside organizations like mine cannot access. And so their reports are very valuable. It's called the Government Waste Report from Senator Paul, and from Senator Lankford, Federal Fumbles, a rather clever title. These can become the basis for legislative action in our United States Congress, assuming that our Congress is functioning normally. It is not currently doing so right now because our lower chamber does not have a leader right now. But we do believe that there are additional opportunities for researching wasted spending, as well as publicizing it and obtaining action at all levels of government. We have partnered for many years with the organization Citizens Against Government Waste in compiling examples of wasteful spending that are available to the general public. This is done through what is called Freedom of Information laws. These are laws that allow citizens to petition the government here to release records that are not normally made public, but at least are not secret or classified as a matter of national security. The Taxpayers Protection Alliance, which is a great ally of ours, does the same thing as Citizens Against Government Waste, but at the state level, assisting state organizations within the United States to research government waste. There is also an organization called Open the Books, and this organization was formed when the United States began enacting state and federal laws to put all of the grants and the contracts and the business arrangements between the federal government and the state government and the private sector online in searchable databases, so that citizens who had the time could search through any number of contracts that governments may have made for providing food service at government offices, or building government roads, or constructing certain defense projects. All of these items, with some exceptions, but largely most of the government contracts, have been available online for about 10 years now. And this has provided an excellent source of information for us to determine where some of the most wasteful practices are occurring. There are a number of organizations internationally that have made good use of this information in their own countries as well. The National Taxpayers Union is a member organization of the World Taxpayers Associations, with which many of you are already familiar. And several of our colleague organizations have created similar laws in their countries or similar reports. And they have also used publicity mechanisms that I think have been very helpful. In Canada, the Canadian Taxpayers Federation has actually employed former journalists to help them investigate government waste. They hire them directly and have them on their staff. The New Zealand Taxpayers Union has created a special website for government employees to report instances of government waste that they see on their jobs every day, while the Taxpayers Alliance in UK works directly with reporters of established media outlets to publicize government waste. We have done some of those activities, but those three organizations, I believe, have done by far the best job in working with media and publicizing some of the worst results in among our members here at World Taxpayers Associations. I would also say that some of the worst problems that we have seen in COVID aid, the various responses to the pandemic, have indeed been in the provision of public benefits. It is being widely reported here in the United States that the loans, the assistance to businesses, the assistance to individual households, and the unemployment assistance all have waste and fraud rates of between 25 and 35%, which is quite terrible even for the United States. Normally, the so-called improper payment rate in programs such as these is between 10 and 12%. So the rates have been double, even triple that amount because of all the COVID aid. And one of the responses that we have tried to develop is what we call a policymaker toolkit. This is gathering the best possible advice from experts in the administration of unemployment benefits, for example, for workers who were out of the job because of the pandemic, finding out which of our 50 states were responding best for eligibility requirements, for preventing actors in other countries from claiming benefits, for properly administering the unemployment taxes while the benefits are flowing out. We've gathered all of those experiences into specific proposals so that each executive and legislative branch in each of our 50 states can benefit from that experience, implement reforms, and join the federal government in attempting to recover some of this lost money, which is now well above $400 billion US, just massive. There are other reforms that we would like to see enacted. Sunset laws, for example. This is a law that requires the periodic review of every budget program. In other words, in Texas, one of our larger states, there is a 4-year review process where 1/4 of all of their programs undergoes an audit and a review each year to determine whether money is being spent efficiently and effectively. This happens another 4th for the 2nd year, another for the 3rd, the final one for the 4th, so that every 4 years, every department in the Texas government undergoes an evaluation for its efficiency and effectiveness. We believe that would be a very desirable law to have at the federal level and in all states. We also need to work on what we call whistleblower protection laws. These are laws that allow employees at companies which contract with governments or government agencies themselves to blow the whistle. In other words, expose wasteful spending without fear of retaliation on the job from their employers. That is a very important protection to have in place because whistleblowers always see this wasteful spending as it is occurring rather than after it has already occurred. And a very important reform to have in place. I could provide many other examples of waste, many other reforms to recommend, but I realize we only have about an hour for this session. I will stop there and provide in the chat window of Zoom here a document with some interesting references that you may want to consult as you attempt to address some of the difficulties you're experiencing in Poland. And I would be happy to answer any additional questions.
So maybe I just, before I go to other panelists, I'd like to ask you one question that is relating to the intro done by Tomasz Wróblewski. So you mentioned that we live in a very, very disruptive era. We have problems here and there. We have war in Ukraine. And this is one of the topic of the American debate, public debate, what to do about this. Because it seems that the needs to help others are increasing every day. Now we have Middle East. The U.S. taxpayer is also funding help to Israel. And how do you perceive this kind of spending? You know, here,
yes.
For example, in Poland, we do not perceive American taxpayers' money funding Ukraine's help as a waste. From our perspective, it's not a waste. I'm wondering, what is your opinion on that?
Yes, it is not necessarily a waste, but that is separate from the question of whether it is affordable. And one may say that, well, the United States has inexhaustible resources, but it doesn't. One thing that shocked me recently was learning that because of rising interest rates in the United States, it now costs twice as much money to finance $1 of debt as it did just 1 year ago. That is just shocking, that our interest costs incurred by our government for going into debt have doubled in the space of a year. And we don't see where that is going to end. Down the line, as we continue to refinance our debt, that will show up in interest payments in our federal budget that will well exceed $1 trillion and will approach $2 trillion US probably by the end of this decade. What do we do to ensure that money is spent effectively for Ukraine and for Israel? There are several recommendations we have made. We believe that there should be a special inspector general office empowered in the United States to oversee all funds that are provided for aid to Ukraine and aid to Israel. We believe that, as I mentioned earlier, whistleblower protections for employees with all of the contractors who are manufacturing ammunition and other materials to provide to Ukraine should have protections when they see wasteful spending. I would also think that we must re-examine our priorities, specifically in the defense and national security area. And that's where we can build coalitions with other organizations that may not ideologically align with ours, but believe that money is best conserved as much as possible in this area. I mention this because we work regularly with an organization, U.S. Public Interest Research Group, a left-wing organization, to come up with ideas that we can both agree upon, NTU and U.S. PIRG, that could help to reduce U.S. government budget deficits, mainly by shifting away from wasteful spending items in the national security area. I will explain just one. We constructed a U.S. naval ship called the Littoral Combat Ship, the LCS. This project was initiated in the year 2000 in an attempt to build a large number of ships that could sail right off the coasts of countries and provide patrol duties. And it turns out that the ships that were built are not seaworthy. They are being retired after 4 or 5 years of service. The total cost of this failed program, $65 billion US. When you think that the aid package that the Biden administration is requesting is $105 billion US, we could have more than halfway funded the aid to Israel and Ukraine currently being requested now if we had never built that wasteful project. And one can always second guess policymakers, but it is an example of how a wasteful program can deprive the budget of urgent resources for times like these.
Thank you so much. Now let me ask Rui Salqueiro, who is a Portuguese, living here in Warsaw, but at the same time being a political activist in a Liberal Party in Portugal, plus being a business person here, or business development manager in Visegrad inside. Hi, Rui, and please tell me a bit about Portugal. Your top personal income tax rate in Portugal is 53%, which is one of the highest rates in Europe. But at the same time, Portuguese people seem to be very much into interventionism. They like socialism, they like redistribution. So maybe, in contrast to our countries, they just like to be taxed, and they just like when somebody else is making decision about their money instead of them.
Thank you. Hello, is this working? Hello. Thank you, Sebastian. First of all, well, thank you for the invitation to be here. Second, I need to make a disclaimer. So unlike my distinguished colleagues here at the panel, I'm not a tax policy or public expenditures specialist. As Sebastian said, so I'm a political activist, former parliamentary candidate. So I follow the subject, and I came here on request of Sebastian to speak about the cases in Portugal. Do we like to be taxed? Well, I think nobody likes to be taxed. But there was an interesting poll made recently in the Portuguese media asking people if taxes are high. Yes, people, well, not everybody, but most people said taxes are high. So would you like to reduce taxes? Yes. So what would you cut? And when the questions are made like, would you cut on social welfare? No. Would you cut on something? No. So nobody wants to cut anything. So people kind of are, okay, let's keep it like it is. This is indeed a big discussion lately. So because, as you mentioned, our top bracket tax is, well, it's 47.5% plus 5% overtax. But that's not even the problem. The problem is that this 47.5% top bracket applies from income of 20,000 euros yearly. 20,000. So meaning that according to the Portuguese government, you are very rich if you make 20,000 euros a year. So that is the big problem. So, but you are right, and I think that I don't like very much to talk in panels in a subject that I'm not an expert, but I thought that it would be valuable to bring the Portuguese experience here in the sense that it's indeed a country that it's quite different from most European countries. Portugal and Spain are governed by the socialist parties. So there is indeed a culture of statism. So Portuguese, Spaniards really like to be controlled. Well, if you ask them if they like, they will say no. But at the end, they also don't want to risk something different. So this is a problem that we need to deal with.
This is an interesting thing because Portugal joined European Union much earlier than Poland, right? But right now it seems that GDP per capita in Poland is even higher than in Portugal. So would you say that this mentality, like statist mentality, pro-taxes, pro-intervention, pro-spending, contributed to this downgrade in Portugal well-being?
No doubt about that, because the tax money is used, like my colleague here said before. So before we make a redistribution, we need to grow the cake. And the Portuguese government and the Portugal is run by the Socialist Party, or was run by this Socialist Party around 20 of the last 28 years. And they focus on redistribution. They focus, well, as most socialists, on hooking the people on these transferences. We were mentioning before during lunch that 40% of the Portuguese population is on poverty risk before transferences. Only after social transference, this number goes to around 18%. So if you ask me, that a liberal that believes in that free markets are the way for a freer society, a more prosperous society, definitely this has an impact. And I think that this is a deliberate strategy of the government, so that hook up the people, like as when we are dealing with a drug addict, give them something to get them happy, but don't give them enough, don't teach them, don't give them the tools to thrive on their own. So I think this is the socialist approach. And the same thing, just to compare with Poland and the fact that we've been indeed not on nominal numbers, but our GDP is still, I think, a little bit higher than Polish, but in PPP, yes, Poland already overpassed Portugal. Romania just caught us on PPP as well, caught us this year. Because also there, Portugal does not know how to use the European funds. These funds are used not to invest, but just to put down some fires. And we keep this addiction as well. So it's not.
What do you mean exactly?
There's not a plan. There's not an investment, a middle, long-term plan to grow the economy, to grow the country. Is just, for example, we've been mentioning before that Portugal is currently with a huge housing crisis. There is a certain amount of the recovery and release fund that is dedicated to housing. However, the government didn't didn't do anything with it. At the moment that we are speaking, we are currently, we met 17% of the benchmarks agreed with the European Union using the funds of the PRR. And a couple of weeks ago, our Prime Minister went to Brussels asking for help to solving the housing problem. So we are hooked on this help. They don't know, this government does not know how to govern the country, and uses this money that falls from the sky, falls from Brussels, and to distribute to the classes that are complaining, striking the most, the loudest, but does not make any structural reform. There's no reforms in Portugal, since I remember.
Well, you live in Poland, you work in Poland. Where do you pay your taxes? In Portugal or in Poland?
I pay my taxes in Poland.
So if you compare those two systems, which one is better?
Poland has not the best of the tax systems, but Portuguese is worst. And it's not so much, I think that the problems are not very different, are not exactly the same, but are not so different in the sense that it's not so much the tax burden that it's high, but it's not even the biggest problem. It's the complexity of the system. So, for example, if you are a corporation, if you're a company, you need around 60 to 63 days of a person working to take care of your taxes, so of your administration with the tax office. So this is, well, it's 60 to 63 days that are not used to produce wealth in a company. So this is one of the biggest problems of the Portuguese tax system.
Thank you so much. So, well, complexity of the tax code is also a problem of Poland and probably all of the countries in Europe and everywhere else. And so leaving the level of taxes aside, let's focus on that, Michael. This is the question for you. Your tax association is very old. It's been functioning 75 years right now. So you probably have a lot of experience how to make it easy, how to make the complex tax code easy. What are the best solutions to do it?
Not to give up, to criticize and to try to lobby better tax systems. Our problem is similar to yours. We had a conservative government before with Merkel, but she was more left-wing oriented, also distribution, increase of taxes. And I think the most important thing would be to generate trust. So if you have a government changing tax laws every year, why you should invest? You need security. I think the tax itself is not the problem. The tax bureaucracy and all the work you have to invest. So there are many, many potentials to reduce bureaucracy. In Germany, our chancellor said, "Now, yes, I understood. I want to do and we will do, but let's measure him in 4 months if something happened." And I think that's what we have to do. That's why we need these associations like Warsaw Enterprise Institute and the Taxpayers and other organizations to remember politicians what they promised. Listen to Merz now as an opposition. If he would have done this with the Conservative Party all time, then there would be an increase of wealth. But now in opposition, it's much easier than in the government, and it's easier to spend money than to say, listen, we have to do something, we have to invest. We cannot spend money, we have less transfer payments. And that's our experience, and with the European taxpayers movements, that we collect good examples like Slovakia with the 3 times flat tax. And I know Ivan Miklos very well because we supported this tax reform with some lobby groups, and it was a success story. And he increased value-added tax, and he cut down corporate income tax and income tax. And the second year had more revenues. It was a success story. So politicians are afraid to cut taxes because they have only a linear thinking. It's a self-financing effect. If you cut down taxes, you have more growth because you have more investment. In Germany, people think about how to avoid to pay taxes. Lots of energy. I gave a lecture last Thursday. A big corporate. She has 60 revenues out of different countries. She said, "Michael, yes, nice what you told me. Tell me what I can do with the tax, what I don't know." So listen, I must know your case, but you should spend more energy to generate growth and trade. And it's a loss if you have really to work with this tax system, tax declaration. And that's what we learned also from Estonia. It's a very simple tax declaration. For sure, a simple system is not an individual fair system. If in Germany we have a complex tax system, why? Because we want to be fair to everybody. And that's why it's a problem in the system itself. That's why it's so complicated. So if you want to do something in Poland, if you want to do something in Portugal, make simpler tax laws and put the power free, the energy to invest. That's it.
Let me refer to the black book that you are also producing. You are pioneers here, probably. So when we were working on our book, obviously we had examples of the ways on the local level by the local governments and of the ways by the central general government. In Germany, what kind of ways is more problematic, widespread, the local or the federal government ways? Because you have different structure of the country, much more autonomy on the land level, right?
Yeah, but it's what I tried to explain. It's not only the amount; it's also tax bureaucracy. If you do not get a license and then the administrations realize they are not responsible to it, it's a problem. It could be €1,000 if it's waste. If you have 2,000 villages in Germany, in Bavaria only, it's a wrong role model. And they should learn more from bad practice too, and we communicate also good practice. We award positive results too. So the government, the size of waste is also important. If the city of Munich increase a billion, increase, or the airport in Berlin increase, but it's not only the amount, it's a structural problem we have in the increase of building costs, for instance. And if you build private, you will not have an increase 400, 500, 600%. Also, or as an entrepreneur, you could not finance it. But if the state is paying it, and in Germany you must know, if the theater I mentioned in Coburg, 2/3 of this are paid by the state of Bavaria. So, or 3/4 are paid of the state of Bavaria. So it's not for the city itself, it's not too expensive, but for us it's independent. The taxpayers, in total, we pay everything. So I think the cases are different, sometimes similar. We write, sorry, I cannot read in the Polish English, but we try to write it simple and like funny storytelling. And we have a very interesting partner in a TV show, Mario Barth, since years. He publishes our cases as a movie with comedians. It's 4 times a year, and I think they will continue the next 10 years. It's a commercial format. We just contribute with our cases, and people have a high interest in these stupid things. They cannot believe if a road is built or a bridge is built and the road is not existing. But there was a plan to build a road, and the bridge came, but never a road will come now. So we make pictures of this, and he would say, who is responsible? No one. No one is responsible. So and that's what makes me angry. Someone should be responsible. Even go to court. We try to these cases must be punished because it's a stupid case. If you buy square meters in Munich and you cannot use it, and you invested 24 million just for green, it stays green, even if the owner is somebody different. Someone should be responsible. And I think that's what we work on now with this EU prosecutor. And we hope that from Europe something good comes back to Germany too. That this could be, with a prosecutor, a role model also for Germany. So these really big cases are monitored and someone is responsible.
Thank you so much. Tomek, I'd like to ask you not about Poland, not about Germany, but about the EU. So there was this book years ago, probably around 20 years ago, published titled The Great European Ripoff, and this book described how the EU wastes our money. We don't have, of course, the common taxation system in the EU, but we do have a common budget targeted at most to the green transformation funds, common agricultural policies, or regional development. So you are a part of this European Social Economic Committee. How do you think, is this still a problem? I mean, wasting EU money for those 3 spheres I mentioned. Do you think they are used effectively, the funds, or maybe there are some problems? So Michael, in his presentation, did mention some troubles with the COVID aid package that was fraudulently used to other purposes. But please give us more general look on that.
Well, obviously, EU is kingdom of waste. Partially because it is, when we talk, and Michael said about it, the politicians are not responsible for the deeds. Actually, in case of European Union, is even more vivid. I mean, this is very difficult to pinpoint who is responsible for decisions. Decisions are made in a wide group of people, bureaucrats coming up with ideas, and then it's approved by Parliament, and you can't really pinpoint where it comes from. And there's this huge desire and arrogancy, desire to regulate, and arrogancy that bureaucrats believe that they have all the smarts of the world, and people are unable for themselves. Like one of the ideas that was discussing recently in European Commission. Should be European standard for what should be pressure on your tires. Like like people who never drove the cars and they have no slightest idea what should be should be one norm for whole Europe. I mean, besides how stupid it is how much time it's consuming, how many people are working on it, how many people are discussing it. I mean, it takes 2 years to come up with the idea that we need the same shift for plugging into the telephone. I mean, and they're proud of it. They worked 2 years on it. This is problem. General problem is. I have one example from our book on page 74. It's from Jędrzejów in Poland, where someone built a highway. The local government built a highway, but they didn't check the noise, and now they have to demolish several houses, because it's too loud. Because it will be cheaper to demolish houses to buy back from people who own that houses, so the highway could be loud enough. This is stupid, but I think why politicians can do it? Well, they can do it's a vicious cycle. They can do it because they can be re-elected, buying their votes with more even public spending. In normal situation, if someone in corporation made mistakes like this, he will lose a job and probably he won't get another one for another 10 years. Here, he just uses the company, which is our money, to buy his own votes and promises more. The Polish example is a very good one. I mean, just from August to September, the debt of the government and the gap in the budget went up 30% because of the promises of the government before election. The government will have to borrow next year 422 billion because of lots of waste. 100 billion we're gonna pay for just servicing the whole debt we have. And when you look when all those budget deficits are going up, it's usually around the election time. This is a 30% growth of the gap in the budget without even promises that opposition made, and they won. So they want to give their own 50 billion, additional 50 billion of their promises. So the problem is politics. I mean, first of all, you can make stupid decision and you are not responsible. And the more stupid decision you make, more money you spend to buy votes. More money you spend for votes, more mistakes you make. And this is this vicious cycle of politics.
The fun thing is that there's economic research on the effectiveness of buying votes by increasing public expenditures, and it just simply does not work. It's a myth that politicians believe that it works. It doesn't work. So once you are in office, you cannot effectively buy votes. You believe that you can. That's why you are increasing the expenditures. But in reality, it just doesn't work. And now we have a clear proof on this on this here in Poland. The party that just tried to buy votes lost the election.
No, but be fair. Opposition promised as much as they did.
Yeah, but this is a different thing. You promise that you will do something. Yeah, okay.
Can I say something?
Yeah, please go.
Because your question was about waste in the European Union.
Yeah.
And we cannot speak about waste in the European Union without speaking about the weekly commute of the European Parliament between Brussels and Strasbourg. This is, I don't even have words for this. So what on earth justifies that all these I don't know how many, 760 MEPs with all their assistants and so on, take a train every week to go from Brussels to... So this is the clearest example of how the public money is wasted.
Where is Greta Thunberg protesting against that, right? Okay, now I have time for the audience to raise questions. If there are any, please feel free to ask our panelists. Don't hesitate. It's once in a lifetime opportunity. All right, so if there are no questions left, we're going to have a short break, and after the break we're going to have the panel in język polski. Także już się teraz przerzucam na język polski. Thank you so much. Of course, please stay with us.